Good morning and welcome to today's lesson where I want us to talk about classification of communication. Remember, we talk about communication, we were able to define what communication is, we were able to define different forms of communication. We were also able to give barriers that affect communication and also guidelines that would help us to be able to ensure that we get effective communication. Now, we have what we call the classification of communication. Yeah, so when you hear the word classification, this one only tells you that communication is in different types. We have formal communication and informal communication. So when you hear the word formal, what comes into your mind? It's that type of communication follows a certain protocol. Okay, whereas informal means that communication in that sense does not follow any laid out channels. So when you talk about formal communication, we refer to channels of formal communication of authorities and responsibilities in an organization. For example, if you want to see the MD, okay, you don't have to go directly to the managing director. You have to go through your supervisor. Your supervisor, if he's unable to address that issue, he goes through somebody else before it reaches the managing director. Whereas informal means, as a junior subordinate, I can walk into the my supervisor's office and be able to raise out my issues. So there's no protocol. Okay, so that's what we mean by informal. So we've got two types of communication where we said we have informal and formal. We also have internal communication and external communication. Now, when you talk about internal communication, what are we referring to? We are referring to communication that happens within the same organization. Whereas external refers to communication that happens between our organization and another organization. Okay, so we've got those types of communication which are very important for us to know. So when we talk about internal communication, we are referring to the exchange of information between people who work in the same department or different departments, but within the same organization. Now, under internal communication, we say it is very important to have this kind of communication within the organization. Why is it important? Why it is important? It is because it brings better understanding within the organization, because people are able to correlate, people are able to work together. Therefore, there is better understanding within the organization. We also say it enables the organization to minimize on losses. Okay. The other advantage or importance of this mode of internal communication is that there is greater efficiency in an organization. Now, under internal communication, we have other small forms of communication. That's what they're trying to tell us. Within the organization, we have some level or some other small types which the employees are able to communicate. Okay, and one of these method is what we call the vertical internal communication. Now, when you hear the word vertical, we say here the information either passes either up or down. Vertical means going up or going down. So information passes either up or down. Okay, and this could be information from your boss or could be information to your boss. So when you say vertical, it goes up or down, and it can be either information you directing it to your boss or your boss directing it to you. Okay, so under vertical internal communication, we have what we call the downward communication. Now, when you hear the word downward, yeah, it means the information is coming from the boss to the superior, to the juniors. Information coming from top management to the subordinates or to the juniors. So under what circumstances do we get to see that kind of information? For example, when your boss is giving you information or is giving you instructions or is delegating some work. Delegating means giving you some assignments. Yeah, telling you, I want you to you delegate. Sometimes a boss, a supervisor is able to delegate, meaning they're able to give you part of their job for you to be able to perform. So this form of internal communication is where, in most cases, it happens when the supervisor or the boss wants to relay certain information. Okay, perhaps they want to give you some instructions, maybe they want to delegate some work to you. So this is circumstances under which that form of communication is done. Now, this form of communication has got its own limitation. Limitation means has got some of its disadvantages. So what happens with this method of communication is that sometimes the supervisor can over-communicate or under-communicate. Okay, meaning they're able to give you more information than you require or give you very limited information. Okay, we also say there could be some delays. Yeah, where could there be some delays? Because for them to give you that information, they have to follow a certain protocol. Okay, so by so doing, the information could be delayed. We also say there is distortion. Distortion means information that is intended to be passed to sometimes is altered. Yeah, if I had planned to tell you something, in between the conversation or in between the communication, that information either is perceived differently or I don't express it the way I was supposed to. Therefore, the information that the recipient receives is not adequate. Okay, those are some of the disadvantages of this method of internal communication. Remember, we said vertical internal communication is either information going up or going down. Now, when it comes the one we've just discussed is the downwards, meaning the information comes from the management to the juniors. Now, under vertical, we also have upward communication. Now, under upward communication, it means the information is coming from the subordinates or it's coming from the juniors to the supervisors or to the management. Okay, so this is the information that comes from the juniors going to the management. Now, What are circumstances under which the subordinates communicate? We say the subordinates communicate when they have problems. Okay, you could be having problems. Yeah, there are issues that are affecting your work. So what do? You raise them up. So that way, that method of raising up those issues is what we call the upward communication. Communication that comes from the juniors going up. Okay? Yeah. So this method also is very important. Why is it important? Because it is also a way of giving feedback. Okay? Feedback in what sense? Remember we said communication process can only end if we have feedback. Maybe this person had been given some assignment. Yeah, so what they are doing now is that they are going back to their supervisors to tell them this is what they have done. So this method of internal communication is important because it is used to give feedback. Also, it is very important because it is meant to be used by the juniors to raise out their personal issues. Okay, maybe I have been going through certain things. So what happens when I get a chance to raise my issues? I'm able to talk about them so that the management will be able to know how they can help me. Yeah, so the upward communication is important because it allows a junior employee to be able to raise out their personal issues that makes it very difficult for them to be able to perform their duties effectively. Okay, now what are some of those methods that are used? Okay, methods that are used to for upward communication. Now, one of the method is what we call the open door policy. Now, when you talk about the open door policy, this is what we mean. I can be able to leave my desk, walking into my supervisor's office and maybe sit down and maybe be able to raise my issues. Okay, maybe either with an appointment or not. That's what we call an open door policy. Like for example, here in school, we have an open door policy where your parents can come, see any teacher in case they have issues they want to raise. Yeah, they can come to school, raise issues without even making an appointment. Okay, likewise, students are allowed to raise their issues, with the head of academics, with the head of departments, yeah, on issues that affect them. Okay, that is what we call the open door policy. Okay, then we also have the complaint and suggestion schemes. Now, the suggestion schemes, yeah, I'm sure you've seen some boxes in most places where you go. Even in school, we have them, written suggestion box. Yeah, that is one method of upward communication. Those boxes have been put there so that you are able to give your feedback. You're able to give your suggestions on how you'd want to see things done. So that is a method of upward communication. We also have reports. Reports now will come and I'll come and show you how to write reports. Reports also is a method of giving feedback because it is normally a junior who has been requested to write a report about a certain subject and they have to give feedback. They have to give the report on what they found out. Okay? So we also have some disadvantages of upward communication. Now, remember this one is said, it is communication that generates from the juniors to the management. Some of the disadvantages of this method of communication is that sometimes the employees or the juniors could be reluctant to talk about their problems. Yeah, maybe somebody will say, oh, I don't want to talk about my problems, or I don't want to talk about my issues, I don't want my boss to get to know about me so much. Therefore, they don't relay, they don't talk. And when they don't talk, this problem continues persisting. So that reluctance of sharing information can also be a problem to the organization. Okay? Sometimes these employees might feel, if I talk too much about myself, my superiors will be able to know too much about me, and I don't want them to know. Yeah, so when you refrain yourself from talking about issues that affect you as an employee, in the long run, it will still come back and affect the organization. We also say sometimes this method, because I know my boss, yeah, so what I'll do, I can say anything. I say, he will understand, he knows me. No, yeah. So when employees have that attitude, yeah, they might think that they are the same level with their supervisors. Okay, and therefore there will be no respect. Okay, so I hope up to that point I am very clear. Remember, we said we have forms of or classification of communication, and we said we have two types. We have four types of. We've got two types of. We've got two types of communication, where we said we have formal and informal communication. Where we said formal, you follow a certain protocol, whereas informal, there is no channel. Then we said we have internal communication and external communication, where we said under internal communication, it is communication within people who work in the same department, who work in different departments, but in the same organization. And we have external communication, where we said it is communication between our organization and the outside world. So under internal communication, we mentioned about the vertical internal communication, which we said it is communication that either goes up or down. And we've got the downward, where we said it is communication that comes from the management to the juniors. And we also have got the upward, where we say it is communication that comes from the juniors to the management. Okay, then we also have horizontal. Now, when you hear the word horizontal, horizontal, yeah, it is at the same level. Okay, so horizontal communication is between people of the same level in the same organization. For example, this could be communication between students, yeah, because they are at the same level, or communication between lecturers because they are on the same level, because they have faced the same problems, they have common issues, etc, etc. Okay, so this mode of communication is normally used to coordinate the activities among people who are at the same level. So this mode of communication is used to communicate to people who are at the same level of communication. Okay, yeah, so horizontal communication, or what we call the lateral communication, is very, very important. Then we also have diagonal. Now, this is a communication that revolves around people of different levels in different departments. Now, this is different levels in different departments. Okay, different levels in different departments. So this mode of communication also is very, very important. Take note, it is people of different levels. So this is communication between teachers because they're in a different department, communication between students because they're in different department, communication between the management because they're in the same organization. So it is basically for people in different levels, in different departments in the organization. Okay, so what I want to do, I will talk in details about one specific communication or another method of horizontal communication, which we call the grapevine. So I will give details about that in the next audio. So what I want to talk about here is the external communication. Remember, we said external communication refers to communication between the organization and the outside world. Okay, so between KIPS Technical College and another organization like Equity Bank, or KIPS Technical College with another organization called the maybe a supplier. Okay, so it is external. It means between us and the outside world. Okay, so this form of communication is very important. Yeah, it is very important because it creates a provision. This is where it's a channel that is used to pass information from our organization to the other world. Okay, so this form of communication is used to pass information from our organization to the other world. Okay, it is also meant to create and maintain favorable image. Now, this form of communication talks more about the image. Yeah, the image of KIPS Technical College. How do the other people, the public, how do they perceive us? That is what we call the image. Okay, then we say it is also used to improve the mutual understanding between the organization and the outside world. So it becomes a channel of trying to tell the other world what we are, what do we do, what is our vision, what is our mission. Okay, so this form of communication is very, very important. Then another method of or another type of communication is what we call the intrapersonal and interpersonal. So I'll also go into details of these forms of communication or the classification of communication, where we say when somebody has a meeting, sometimes we want to have a meeting between me and myself. Okay, there are times when you say, I called myself for a meeting. You know, I called myself for a meeting. It was between me and myself. That's what we call the intrapersonal. Sometimes, why do we have those kind of small meetings? Because maybe I have certain issues that are affecting me. Yeah, maybe I want to evaluate my relationship with others. Maybe I want to set my goals. So I'll call myself for a meeting. That kind of communication is called intra, between me and myself. Then we have inter. Now, inter means so many other people. So it is communication between me and other people. So we have intra, between me and myself, and inter, between me and other people. So those forms of communication, I'll also give details about them in the next lesson. So I hope I'm very clear on the forms of, on classification of communication, where we've defined what are internal versus, formal versus informal, okay? Internal versus external forms of communication, where we said under internal we have vertical communication, which either goes up or down, and under the same we have the downward and upward communication. We also have horizontal. Horizontal means people at the same level. We also have diagonal, people of different department, different levels, etc, etc. And then we also mentioned about external communication, where we say it is communication between our organization and the outside world. And we also said we have intra communication and interpersonal communication, where we said intra revolves around me and myself, and interpersonal means between me and other people. Okay, so I hope I'm very clear on that. I'll see you in the next audio, where I'll explain the forms of horizontal communication. Thank you so much for your time. God bless and take care of yourself. Bye.